Hi there. One of the things about being a member of a church, even if it's the church of nowhere, which supposedly doesn't exist, but which actually does exist as a sort of wish that it could be kind of way, is that people look to you for wisdom, uh, not in the sense of prophecy, sort of wisdom before something happens, although that's certainly true in the Bible, that there's plenty of people that give their wisdom about something which could happen, which hasn't happened yet, or even wisdom after the event, which is where basically when you look at something that has happened and draw a conclusion from it, draw a moral from it, and then you explain that conclusion or moral to other people and say, this happened because of this. And you get a lot of that in the Bible as well. I'm talking about there's a kind of third sort of type of wisdom, which is more of a sort of generalized wisdom, which some people do come to you to for you to share with them. And I don't know whether this is wisdom or foolishness really on their part, because I don't really see why someone just belonging to a church would make them any wiser than you are, really. But it's like what they say about financial advice. I mean, don't seek it. You know, don't go to financial advisors. Either you know what you're doing, or you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, don't be in the stock market. And if you do know what you're doing, you only know what you're doing because of trial and error, because you made mistakes and learned from them, not because you took any particular advice or detailed advice from a financial advisor. So I don't trust the buggers at all, really. Oops, sorry, I'm not supposed to swear on this channel. Anyway, I also want to talk about this in the sense that the church, a lot of people, there are a lot of videos on YouTube going on about how the world is ruled by a secret elite of business people and power hungry megalomaniacs and I don't know what all. And I was just like to say in passing that this has been true since the building of Jericho, 8000 BC. Wherever you get a larger and increasingly large group of human beings, you're going to get people that come to the top through ruthless means and through manipulation, exploitation, and predation, even. And that's why they tell me that communism doesn't work because of human nature, because people don't want to be thought of as being equal to other people. They want to be superior to other people. And other people, they want to make other people feel inferior to them as well, which makes the job of becoming superior much easier, if you take away the confidence of the competition, as it were. So given that, I don't really go with much of this conspiracy theories, really, because they are referring not to a modern age, but they are ageless. But of course, it is important because a lot of people are really, really fed up with the professional politician, for example, and they're fed up with the fact that politicians really care about their own careers and their own party's fortunes more than they do about the country or about you and me or the ordinary people, and a lot. I mean, if there is if this video is proved right, the Brexit Party is going to do very well in the next election for the British election, which will either be this year or next year. And if it's this year, they're going to do very, very well. They might even sweep to power, or certainly they'll be in a position of coalition government with the ruling Conservatives, because people are really fed up with Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem. They're fed up with Republicans, Democrats. They're fed up with all the parties because they're all people that are selfish and have no integrity, have no principles, um, and are generally a bad lot. And what we really need is just a bunch of ordinary people who maybe don't have experience in government, but they're just ordinary, innocent people that want to do good for other people. And that's why they're in government in the first place. That's why they put themselves forward. and just to do common sense things. So we have as the idea of the innocent Parsifal figure, who is innocent, populist, yeah, has common sense views on things, and is going to just going to do the right thing, and do the thing which everybody wants to happen, wants to see happen, because it's the most sensible thing for the greatest number of people, and will maximise the happiness of the greatest number as well. But then against this, you have a kind of a natural cynicism really directed towards all politicians, between everybody that you know, because everybody that you know basically has all these bits of baggage attached to their innocence, which makes them actually far from innocence. So, for example, and in no particular order, some people, are trying to assuage their guilt. I mean, they feel guilty about something that they did do or something that they didn't do in their childhood or in their adolescence or early part of their lives. And they're trying desperately to assuage their guilt, to actually feel better about themselves. And that's why they go into politics, or that's why they, become nurses and doctors and things. For example, I know somebody who became a paramedic because she couldn't save her mother from death, and so therefore this, you could say, this is motivating her to become a paramedic, because she couldn't do anything about it as a child. She just watched her mother die, so she was determined to become a paramedic to not repeat that. But of course, it is repeating in her mind over and over and over again. And sometimes, she works far too hard because she's trying to escape these feelings of guilt, these feelings of helplessness that she had when she was a child. And this could be, I mean, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but this could be one of the motivations why, she works and works and works and works too hard to try to be the best paramedic ever, because she wants to save her mother over and over and over again, So that's kind of one example of people trying to assuage their guilt. And maybe people who have become very moralistic have also feel guilty about something they've done which is immoral, as they perceive it, and so therefore they want to impose morality on others, again, because almost to sort of cleanse themselves of past perceived wrongs, that they had done, sins of commission and sins of omission as well. And another reason why people do what they do is that they do belong to an elite, or at least they belong to an in-group of people, a sort of religion or a cult, or even an association or a society, and they have all the norms, values, and beliefs of that in-group, of that elite. And they might even think themselves to be elite. They might have them sort of like, we're better than other people, we're kind of special. And they all sort of sing Kumbaya around the campfire, and roast sausages and marshmallows, and they feel good about themselves and good about each other. And the person acting alone is actually acting for that group. They're acting in order to cultivate that fluffy feeling of belonging. And that's actually why that's why they do what they do. That's what motivates a lot of their actions. So there is that to it, which is what I originally started with, the professional politician. They belong to a certain in-group, a certain elite, and they all think the same, even though they think they don't think the same. They all do, and that's the nub of the problem right there. You see. And then they also might have be ruled by an ideology. And the thing about an ideology is it's really made up of several main arguments. And basically, you are determined to win those arguments, okay? You've just got to win the argument with your opposition. So it isn't really about doing the best for the greatest number, for maximising the happiness of other people. You just want to win the argument. You just want to be right, and you want to be shown to be right. And you think that there's a sort of god of logic out there that's going to congratulate you on winning the argument. And you think the universe is sort of going to bow down to you and say, "Oh, well done. you've won the argument, and that's all you care about, winning. You don't care about anybody else. You don't care about how you win the argument. Even you could even falsify facts in order to support your argument. There's lots of things that go on like that, even in science, or even especially in science, I would say, especially in economics anyway. You know, damned lies and statistics sort of thing. And then you could be actually working for the interests of other people. And as we all know, in the USA, there is this big hue and cry about money in politics and about how people are actually working for rich corporations and are trying to get legislation through literally in exchange for money and donations either to the party or to their individual campaign funds. But it's not just money. It's like, because everything is basically who you know, not what you know. So it's basically who you actually go to the golf club with, and who you sort of rub shoulders with at the local hunting club, or cocktail parties that people have, and in your neighborhood if you're rich, and you rub shoulders with the right people and say the right things at the right time, and somebody says, oh, that sounds like a great idea, why don't you Skype me or email me about it, and I'll put you in touch with other people. I mean, it's all like networking, you know what I mean? And you could argue that this is a bit of a, like, not so innocent as it sort of seems, or you could have just gone to the right school or the right Ivy League college, and just like everybody in Harvard is an entrepreneur, as they say. And although that may have changed in Harvard, I don't know. But it's probably still pretty true, really. So you could be working for the interests of other people, or even for members of your own family. That happens all over the world as well. Big thing, that, really. So therefore, all these things, the person who's supposed to be populist and innocent has an agenda. After all, everybody sort of has an agenda that they are secretly working for, and secretly in their heart of hearts, they're kind of wishing something was true, or wishing something was so, or wish something was manifest, and they're going to do their damnedest to further that agenda at the expense of anybody else, at the expense of their own integrity, even, if it comes to that. If it comes to a choice between self-sacrifice and supporting the agenda, they'll support the agenda. They won't give way on any point of the agenda, and they have a kind of campaign, very often a secret agenda as well, about what they want to see, how they want to see the world unfold, and they're going to make it happen. They're going to manipulate things in order to make that agenda happen. So even the most innocent populist people, you find this. And then sometimes people have something to prove. They're determined to prove to their father or mother or brothers that they are special people, that they are successful people, and that they'll do anything basically to prove that they are as good as the family expected them to be. And apparently they weren't very good, so they in childhood. So they're just determined to prove the person, society, and their family right. They're determined to prove them wrong. In fact, that they're not a failure, that they are a success, and people are driven by this all-consuming fire to prove their worth, to prove their abilities, to prove their strength, their will to succeed. Their power, their cunning, their ability to organize, their ability to persuade. So there's a lot of that behind everybody. And then, of course, there's just general desires. People desire wealth and money and fame, and they desire the glittering prizes. They desire the Nobel Prize, that they want to win the X Factor. Who doesn't, kind of thing. They want to be somebody, they want to be something, and they'll do anything to get to satisfy those desires. Everybody, no matter how wretched they are, have desires, have continuing desires. And there's that story, in the Bhagavad Gita, about, I think it's Bhishma, who talks about the man who's fallen into a pit, and he's got a snake underneath him, ready to eat him. And he's got an elephant on top of him, and he's grasping at these little roots, and the roots are being gnawed away by mice. And then a bird comes along with nectar, with nice nectar, and the guy holds out his hand for the nectar to drop into his hand. So even when in the face of danger and certain death, we still just think about our desires. We think about satisfying our desires and having that sugar, even though, in the face of madness, in the face of certain death, we never let go of our desires. You see, that's the story, or the moral of the story there. And then finally, people come from a certain class or caste or ethnic, and they have a certain consciousness, cultural consciousness, and it's subconscious. They don't even know they have, and they look at the world actually through their caste eyes, through the eyes of their social class and upbringing, and they don't even know they're doing it. Like, they can't help it. Like Gandhi, for example, he was a Brahmin caste, and sometimes he used to look at the world through the eyes of a Brahmin and not through the eyes of an untouchable, even though he claimed that he was, for the untouchables and everything. That might have been so, but a lot of what he said and did seemed to be motivated by his upbringing, and by his cultural, ethnic, by his caste upbringing, his caste consciousness, if you like. And so therefore, you look at everybody, you look at the innocent person, you look at the populist, and you look at the common sense person who wants to get back to basics and fundamentals, and you discover that they're very complex people and they have very complex motivations for everything that they do. But that's not to say that it's not a good idea to have a new broom that basically is certainly more innocent and more common sense thinking than the professional politicians that actually are running the show at the moment. So sometimes, you do have to have a clean bill of, a clean start, but you have to bear in mind it's not entirely clean, and the people that are sweeping this broom are not entirely, swept clean within themselves, and there are other things that are directing them, sort of unseen. So in a way, you could actually argue that we're all part of this unseen conspiracy of evil elites. We're all look in the mirror, and you'll see somebody who is manipulative, exploitative, and predatory even. You know, you look in the mirror and you'll see a reptile, alien, Illuminati, because we all are like that. Which is why they tell me that communism can't ever happen because of human nature. It's not going to, it's unrealistic. So, and I suppose basically some people are also motivated by unrealistic expectations of other people and of themselves and of this universe. And that creates fanaticism and intolerance and tyranny of the most dreadful kind. So I don't really know what the answer is. All I'm basically saying to you is that, look into yourself and look into the hearts of other people if you can, and without judgment. I mean, but just be aware that this world is not as it seems to be, and that's as it should be almost really, and as it certainly is.